Starting in 5 seconds. Reservation in public employment was given because the farmers wanted the backward classes to share state power, and for that matter they had to be provided equal opportunity. The assembly intended to extend the benefits of affirmative action to only those socially and educationally backward groups who had been excluded from mainstream national life due to historic injustice, stigma, and discrimination, and thus bringing in any other criteria excluding the communities who have suffered such stigmatization would be a blatant violation of not only the equality code but also the very principles of democracy, both of which form part of the basic structure of the Constitution. The Learned Council would submit that the criteria for backwardness was always social in nature and economic backwardness was never accepted as the sole criteria, placing reliance on the decision of this court. In Indrasani case, he has contended that by the majority of 8:1, it was held that economic criteria cannot be the sole basis to grant reservation under Article 16, drawing attention to the theory of substantive equality propounded by Professor Sandra Friedman. The Learned Council has submitted that reservation solely on economic criteria would violate the principles of substantive equality ingrained in the Constitution, which was directed against identity based historic marginalization. Learned Council has further placed reliance on Indra Sahani case to draw distinction between backward class and weaker sections discussed under Article 16 bracket 4 and 46 retrospective. It has been argued that the latter has no limitations and thus Article 46 cannot be the basis for providing reservation. He has also urged that exceeding 50% limit would violate the twin test for width and identity as propounded by this court in and result in disturbance of equality, and that 50% limit cannot be breached under any circumstance except if a law is protected under the ninth schedule to the Constitution, which the amendment in question is not. He supported his argument citing Indira Sahni case wherein it was held that reservation under Article 16 bracket 4 should not exceed 50%. Traversing through the history of reservation policy since the year 1872 and the decision of this court in state of Madras versus Champakam, Professor R. Kumar, Learned Senior Counsel, has submitted that the ratio of decision of this court in Champakam that classification on the basis of religion, race, caste, language are the ethos of constitution as such, elucidating further on formal and substantive equality. The Learned Council has submitted that despite ensuring equal opportunity to all, it was still felt necessary to prohibit discrimination specifically on the grounds of religion, race, caste, sex, place of birth, so as to halt all inequality and create a more egalitarian society, protecting the interest of every individual through Articles 15, 16, 17, 23, 24, and 35 in order to highlight the intensity of caste based discrimination in India. He exemplified the prejudices and discriminations faced by Dr. B.R. Ambedkar and M.K. Gandhi and submitted that unless caste is destroyed in the country, the Learned Council has further contended that the term socially and educationally backward has been employed in Article 15, bracket 4, and the expressions employed are not socially or educationally or socially or economically. The intention behind this was to protect those classes of population who have been historically disadvantaged by birth and not by loss of wealth or by accident. Further, the substantive equality enshrined through Article 15 and 16 not only makes the provisions to bridge the gap, but it also provides the means by which this gap can be bridged. Likewise, under Article 340, the first Backward Classes Commission laid down 22 parameters for the identification of a backward class. The amendment in question does not have any such machinery employed within its ambit for the identification of population who would fall under the EWS category. Relying upon the census report, he has submitted that the population who would fall under the EWS would be around 5% and providing 10% of reservation for such a small population, more so to the forward class, is manifestly arbitrary and fraud on the Constitution. Further, this positive discrimination is taking away the rights from rest of the population. The Learned Council has further argued that as per the grounds of discrimination in Article 15, the Constitution has provided a bridge for all the grounds, but their economic deprivation is not mentioned, which clarifies that it was not considered as a basis for discrimination. Applying the principle of equal justice to Article 46, he contended that the measures contemplated in the statement of objects and reasons of the amendment in question are in favor of SCs and STs and those weaker sections who are similarly circumstanced to SC, STs, and definitely is not meant for those castes and sections which are at the other end of the pendulum in the society, relying on the decision of this court in Indra Sahni case. Stop.